Hi guys, we're going to look at graphing with intercepts today. So we first need to know what the heck intercepts are. So when we're talking about an x-intercept, that's where the graph of your line intersects with the x-axis. So we call that the x-intercept. We always have an ordered pair that looks like x, comma, 0. So that means our y-coordinate is always going to equal 0. Okay. Our y-intercept is similar, except for it's where the graph of the line intersects with the y-axis. So instead of having x comma 0, we're going to have 0 comma y. So y-intercept means you're going to have a number for the y, x-intercept means you're going to have a number for the x. So in this ordered pair, that means our x-coordinate is always going to be 0. Okay, so let's look at a visual. So on these graphs, here is the y-coordinate, or the y-intercept. Here is the x-intercept. So what we do, sorry, as I was saying, so this is my y-intercept, this is my x-intercept. You technically only need those 2 points to then draw a line through them. So this is another way to graph lines using x-intercept and y-intercept. So same thing over here. Here's our x-intercept. Here's our y-intercept. Okay, once we get those 2 points, we can then graph a line. So the next question, obviously, is how do we get those 2 points, right? So we're given an equation, how do we get those points to then graph the line? So let's take a look. Your first example is with the equation y equals 8x minus 10. So to calculate x-intercept and y-intercept, what we do is we remember what the ordered pairs look like. So for an x-intercept, our ordered pair is x comma 0. So that means for my y, I'm going to plug in this 0 and then solve for my x. So I take my equation, I rewrite it with the y as 0, and that equals 8x minus 10. And then I solve this equation for x. So I would add 10 to both sides. I get 10 equals 8x. And then I would divide both sides by 8. And then I would get x equals 1.25, or you can leave it as the fraction simplified 5/4, or 1 1/4. It's your preference unless they specifically ask. So that means our x-intercept here is actually 1.25 comma 0. Okay, so let's do the same for y-intercept. So y-intercept's ordered pair looks like 0 comma y. That means I'm going to take that 0 for x and I'm going to plug it in for x. So we're going to take our equation, write y equals 8 times 0 minus 10. Here it's already solved for y, so I just need to simplify. So I'm going to take 8 times 0 and I'm going to do the multiplication first. I get y equals 0 minus 10. Then I type 0 minus 10 into my calculator, I get negative 10. So that means my y-intercept here is 0 comma negative 10. Okay, in order to graph, we label our y and our x-axes. We take our 2 ordered pairs, so 0, negative 10 for the y-intercept, and then 1.25. So we're going to go over 1 to get the 0.25. I like to go halfway between 1 and 2. And then halfway between 1 and that half that I just created. So my 1.25 is about right there. And then I take a straight edge and I connect those 2 points to form a line. And that, my friends, is graphing with intercepts. Let's do 2 examples of just the calculations. The graphing part is relatively easy. Okay, so for the first example, you're taking y equals 2/3 x minus 6, and you need to find both intercepts for that. So I would, again, pause the video and then do your work for just that one equation. Ignore the second one right now. And then check back with me to see if your work matches my work. All right, so hopefully you found the x-intercept and y-intercept for both. Here is the work and the intercepts. So your intercept should be 9, 0 and 0, negative 6. Here's the work for the x-intercept. Here's the work for the y-intercept. Feel free to pause the video, and take a second to look at my work and ask me any questions that you may have. But if you don't have any questions, I would pause the video again and then start doing the work for the second equation. All right, so hopefully it went well. Let's take a look at the work in the intercepts you should have gotten for the second equation. Here's the work for the x, here's the work for the y. You should have gotten -3/4 comma 0 as your x-intercept, or that could be -0.75 comma 0, and then for your y-intercept you should have gotten 0 comma 3. All right, so that is basically graphing with intercepts. The main thing that you need to practice is finding those intercepts, so feel free to grab your practice and ask me any questions as you're moving through the practice.